Hi, and welcome back. I'm Karen Astle, and this is the second in my video series, A Coach's View of. So, if you haven't seen my first video, which was called A Coach's View of Thought, it might be useful to go back and watch that first, because this one is sort of a continuation of that, just expanding on it a little bit. So, in that first video, I talked about thought and what it's made of, and the fact that we don't have to believe our thoughts all the time. And I likened it to mental weather. So thoughts are clouds passing across the blue sky of our innate mental health. And we're allowed to just let them go through. And even if they look like dark and stormy clouds, we don't have to make that mean anything about ourselves. We can just let it pass on through like we do with weather. However, I do know that sometimes we've already grabbed hold of that thought. We've made it into something that maybe it's not useful for us anymore, and it's sort of hanging around. It's sticky, or it's just clinging on to us in some way. And these can be known as automatic negative thoughts, or ants. And I watched a podcast recently that was featuring a psychiatrist, and he was talking about brain health. And he was saying that ants are as damaging for our brain health as things like smoking, drinking, eating junk food, that sort of thing. And if you remember the statistic that I quoted in the first video, in that 95% of our thoughts are repetitive and 80% of those thoughts are negative, then it does make sense for us to try and strip those back if we can. Now, we're never potentially going to be able to get rid of all of them, but thoughts that are hanging around and are making life difficult for us or keeping us stuck in some way, there are things that we can do to change those. And here is where I'll refer to the work of a woman called Byron Katie. And you may have come across her already. If not, she does have a website. I first came across her when I read her book, and she basically talks about the definition of stress being trying to change the way things are, because there are times when things just are, and if we battle against it, we just cause ourselves problems. But she also talks about dealing with negative thoughts. And the way that she does it is a 4-question process. And the first question is one that I ask a lot in my coaching practice. And that question is it true? So I said in the first video, we don't have to believe our thoughts, but we automatically tend to think that because we've had that thought, it must be true. So the very first question is a yes or no answer. Is it true? And sometimes we'll realize, being asked with that question, if we sit with it for a minute, oh, no, it's not true. No, it's just something I've believed. But also quite often, if it's one that's been hanging around for a while, and if we're quite invested in it, our automatic reaction to that will be, well, yes, it's absolutely true. It must be, because I've had it so many times and I've believed it, and I was told this. So sometimes the answer to that question might be yes. In which case, the second question is, can I absolutely know that that is true? And this is really just an invitation to look for evidence to the contrary. So our brain will always give us evidence to prove that thought that we've had. So it may be that, oh, someone laughed at me once, so if I do this again, if I put myself out on video, people are going to be horrible to me. Now, we may have evidence to back up that that's happened in the past, or it's happened to somebody that we know. But we might also look at videos of people online and go look at the comments and go, well, actually, most of those comments are really, really supportive. So I can't 100% absolutely say that it's true that if I put myself out there on video, people are going to be horrible to me. So it's just starting to sow that seed of doubt in the truth of this thought. The third question is, how does that thought make me feel? And what actions come from that feeling? And again, that's an invitation to sit with that thought and feel all the feelings. And it's not something we would naturally maybe do, because those feelings can be quite unpleasant. So maybe we'll get a real physical sensation with it. Maybe we'll feel a bit sick or nervous or knotted up inside. Maybe our shoulders will go into our ears. And when we get those feelings, what do we do from that place? So maybe we will lash out at other people. Maybe we will shut down completely. Maybe we'll go really quiet and introspective. Maybe we won't want to mix with other people. Maybe it will stop us from doing something. So in the video analogy, it might be that if I have that thought that, or people are going to be horrible, it would completely stop me making this video and putting it out. So what actions come from those feelings? And that is an invitation to look at how it's negatively impacting our life. And then the final question is, who would I be without that thought? So that's again an invitation to look at, if I just remove that thought completely from my brain, if I could just pick it up and take it out, what would be different? So those feelings that I was feeling before and the actions that came from that feelings, where would they go? Would they go away completely? If I could take those away, what would I do differently? Would I confidently put myself out into the world? What would be different? And again, it's just an invitation to sit with that. What could be different? And quite often, just seeing that if I didn't believe that thought, I've got all these options available to me. That will make that thought a little less powerful. And occasionally it will just sort of pop that bubble of thought completely, and it will go away. More often than not, it will take a little bit of practice. And sometimes we might have to go through this process more than once, maybe even more than once with the same thought. Or we'll just need to remind ourselves in future when that thought comes up, do you know what? I had a thought, I had a vision of what my life could be like without this. And I'm actually going to follow that rather than sticking with this thought. Now, this set of questions that Byron Katie has come up with, she calls it the work. So it is a process, it is a practice, and it might feel like work. But as you go through it, it becomes more and more automatic to question these things, and you will catch these things much, much quicker. I'm not saying that you will never, ever have a negative thought again and that you will never believe it for a while. But it just does encourage you to question these things a little bit more and sit with those things and look at an alternative. Now, these videos, the contents of these videos, I just want to make clear, they are my views. I will reference other people's work, like I did with Byron Katie, and I just want to include things that have been useful for me. But I'm not saying that my way is the right way, that there are wrong ways to do things, that if you don't believe what I'm talking about, then you're wrong. Just take what is useful from these videos for yourself and leave what isn't. And if you've got any comments or questions or subjects for future videos, do please let me know. I'd be really, really interested to hear from you. Until the next video, have a great day and I will see you soon.